We got 3 stories, and all of them are going to be hard pills to swallow. But get some water, whatever you need to make it go down a little bit easier. Because just because it's a hard story don't mean you don't tell it. Because when we start avoiding hard stories, that's some punk shit. They take your kindness for weakness. They take your kindness for meekness. So, speaking of that, coming right out the gate, let's talk about the horrible shit that went down in Wisconsin that seems like no one wants to talk about. I don't understand this. Someone sent me this story as if, well, Tim, no one's covering this story. Okay. And they insinuated that no one's covering this story because the killer is a black man. Okay. Did he do this shit? Yeah, he did it. It's on film. He got out the driver's seat of the vehicle where he mowed down the family. So listen to this, guys. So let's take our time. Let's walk through this. You probably heard about it. You stopped watching it because it depressed you or angered you. But we're going to go ahead and go through the article a little bit so that you become up to speed on this. Then I'll chime in. And now I may pronounce this incorrectly, but it's Waukesha. Waukesha? That don't sound right. Because I know it's not that many black people in Wisconsin. But we'll go with it. Waukesha, Wisconsin. The man accused of careening his vehicle into a holiday parade in Wisconsin appeared in court for the first time Tuesday, facing several counts of intentional homicide as the toll grew to 6. That's 6. The latest fatality, a child who died of injuries sustained at the event. Prosecutors say that Darrell Brooks, Jr., a Milwaukee resident, committed an intentional act to strike and hurt as many people as humanly possible when he drove his maroon SUV into the holiday celebration in Waukesha on Sunday, plowing through barricades and past police officers, accelerating into a crowd that included young children, parents, and elderly performers. Late Tuesday afternoon, Brooks appeared in Waukesha County Courtroom, a mile from the site of the parade carnage, to hear the 5 homicide charges against him. 5 homicide charges. Prosecutors informed the court of the 6th fatality and said they intended to file an additional homicide charge. If convicted, Brooks would spend the rest of his life in prison. Brooks's bail was set at $5 million. An amount the court commissioner, Kevin Costello, said was extraordinarily high, but it's an extraordinary case. Now, that is very controversial so far. And let's take a quick break just to say, very controversial case, heartbreaking case. Condolences to the friends and families. All those in attendance that are traumatized by this event. A community of people celebrating a holiday event. And as horrible as this is so far, this is not even the most horrible part. The most horrible part of this whole story is the fact that it was so easily avoidable. Let's continue. Brooks' first court appearance took place amid mounting scrutiny of his criminal history. He faced 2 open cases before Sunday, including one in which he was accused of running over the mother of his child while driving the same vehicle that police say he used on Sunday. So you mean to tell me this man, Darrell Brooks Jr., had just run over someone, and he was just walking around? He was released on custody in that case 5 days before the parade after posting a $1,000 bail, which the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office now says was inappropriately low. Critics say Brooks should not have been freed last week. Police say Brooks was fleeing a crime scene on Sunday, but questions remain about how the SUV ended up plowing into the parade and whether authorities could have done more to de-escalate the situation. Police say Brooks was fleeing a crime scene on Sunday. Wow. So the person who sent me this story, I guess they assume I knew the ins and outs of this story. I haven't. Been so busy working on other content. I'm doing my own editing on video processing and investigation and marketing and promotions and talent and everything else that goes along with doing content. So I saw this shit on the news and was like, and like most people, it was very off-putting. And I said, wow, I am relieved to know it has no connection to the Rittenhouse case, but that doesn't make it go down any easier, that now 6 people have died from this event. I also was not aware, and I don't think most people are aware, that this was a man fleeing from a crime scene. Was he sober? Because I was under the intention of saying that he meant to run all these people over. If he's fleeing from a crime scene, is he intending to run these people over? I'm not saying he's not responsible, but for the sake of our mental state as we go through this story, it would help to know this. Because a person that intended to run through a plow over people that they don't know at a parade is far different from a deranged individual or person intoxicated, inebriated, and running from a crime scene. That's a big difference. I mean, not different for the people that get hit, not different for the friends and family, but different from the public, different for the public to process it. And I think that's important. I think a lot of people did not cover this story, haven't gotten this far to know the circumstances, but let's keep going. Okay, the sources of the people struck by the... Okay. Police say Brooks was fleeing the scene on Sunday, but questions remain about how the SUV ended up plowing into the parade and whether authorities could have done more to de-escalate the situation. They did try to stop him in his vehicle, so that's what got me concerned. Like, is this man intentionally running over these people? Because it says here, the complaint cites police officers lay out a grim narrative of the scene, describing their attempts to intercept the vehicle, only to watch it crash into people at the holiday celebration. One detective recounted seeing people leaping out of the way of the Ford Escape on White Rock Road, which was packed with parade participants. The officer stood in front of the vehicle, hit the hood, and yelled, "Stop!" multiple times, the complaint said. But the driver carried on, moving slowly. Even when the detective banged on the driver's side door and yelled, "Stop" again, the detective saw Brooks in the driver's seat as the vehicle moved into the parade route, and he chased the SUV, but it accelerated. The detective radioed that the vehicle was in the parade route. The complaint continued, but seconds later he heard the radio that the vehicle was striking people and not stopping. The detective later saw 3 people in the road. All of them had been killed. Another officer heard the radio chatter, tried to redirect the Ford. The vehicle turned toward the officer and passed him. Even as he yelled for it to stop, the complaint continued. The officer said he saw the driver looking straight ahead directly at him, and it appeared he had no emotion on his face. The vehicle had been sticking at this point to a part of the road with an open lane separating spectators from those in the parade. At one point, the vehicle passed through an intersection that the officer thought would have been a good option for the lost driver to get out of the parade route. But then the complaint continued. The horn sounded, and the vehicle proceeded to pick up speed. The officer saw the SUV brake lights when it approached another intersection, but the vehicle appeared to rapidly accelerate. With squealing tires audible, the officer said the attempt to smash into people was clear. I'm getting a lot of mixed signals from this article. The vehicle, the officer said, appeared to be intentionally moving side to side, striking multiple people. Bodies and objects were flying from the area of the vehicle. Jesus Christ. The officer kept up the chase. Another officer reported shooting at the SUV 3 times, hitting it 3 times. Witnesses told the police that the vehicle appeared to be zigzagging to avoid vehicles, not people. It may have been aiming for people. When the suspect appeared in court, he was wearing a green jail-issue vest and a mask. As the judge read the counts against him, Brooks lowered his head, nearly doubled over, and sobbed. The next court date is set for January 14th. You know, as horrible as that is, you got to cover it. Well, I think you should cover it. I feel I should have covered it. That's why I covered it. Because I don't want to give people the impression that we're not going to cover horrible shit. Now, I don't know if this man was, in what condition this man was when he did what he did, but since when are we so, hinging on the victimizer's condition? We need to be more concerned with the condition of the victims. I would like to know what caused this, as we would in all tragic events, multiple deaths. But as of right now, I'm calling this guy like an active shooter, like a terrorist. But his weapon was a vehicle, not a gun, right? So same rules apply. Same rules apply. That makes sense to you guys? 6 people dead. According to what's cited in the complaint, it looked like he was attempting to run over people. Like his goal, his job, what he was there to do was to hit people. To not hit people, all he had to do was press the brakes. Did his brakes work? Apparently they did. He stopped at some point. I don't know. So we need to know what caused this. They said he was leaving a crime scene. There's no more talk about the crime scene. I'm really confused about the motive. I'm confused about what precipitated it, but I'm not confused about the number of victims there are, the number of fatalities. Well, I'm confused about victim number, but the number of fatalities is not up for discussion. Once again, our condolences to the families. This is, we're just starting to kind of come back outside, We're just kind of trying to resume some type of normalcy in our lives after going through a pandemic for almost 2 years, and then what do you have? Don't shy away from telling the truth, whatever the truth is. We ain't got to like it, but people need to know that they can trust you to tell the truth. And the truth is, I don't give a shit what his reasons were. He killed a number of people. And he should pay the price for that. You know I'm against the death penalty, so. All right, guys, let's keep it moving. It's not the only story I have. Now, I just became aware of this today, and this is kind of disturbing because this is somewhat of a good story to tell. It's of a police officer that, excuse me, guys, of everything that I've come across so far on this police officer from Kansas City is that he's a horrible police officer. Looks like a dirty cop. Okay? The kind of cop that for some reason some people think don't exist. But the type of cop that I know exists because I've covered similar stories like this. Jesus, man. Someone on Twitter helped me out with this. Listen, guys. This officer, his name is Eric DeValconaire. Eric DeValconaire of Kansas City Police Department, or formerly a police detective. He was found guilty of manslaughter on the 19th of November. Now, this is for the December 2019 killing of Cameron Lamb. Now, Cameron Lamb is a black man who was fatally shot in his own backyard. DeValconaire was the first white Kansas City police officer in 80 years, to face a criminal trial in the shooting death of a black man. I wonder how many other black men have been shot in Kansas City by police officers. I got a feeling this isn't the first one in the last 80 years. This is the first one who was actually found guilty. So he fatally shot Mr. Lamb in his own backyard, 2019. Eric DeValconaire, 43, was charged with first-degree involuntary manslaughter and armed criminal action in the December 3rd, 2019 shooting of Cameron Lamb. He was convicted of a second-degree involuntary manslaughter and armed criminal action. The family, the Jackson County prosecutor, Gene Peters Baker, says justice was gotten today. So justice was gotten, huh? Folks, what little I do know about this story, because I just discovered it today, as I pointed out earlier, it appears DeValconaire shot this young man in his own backyard unlawfully, illegally. He murdered him. Then he set the stage to tell a different story. Then he went in the garage, took out a gun, and put it near the vehicle. Then, not only that, he took bullets and put them in the pocket of the deceased. And he didn't do all this on his own. He had help. There is footage of this testimony on YouTube where the prosecutor is asking Mr. Lamb, how did you plant a gun? Mr. Lamb, did you stage the crime scene? Mr. Lamb, how'd those bullets get there? They don't even go with that gun. Mr. Lamb, looks like someone took DNA from the lab and put it places. Do you have any information where all this happened? How all this occurred on this case? Folks, this is not Bigfoot. This is not spotting an extraterrestrial. This is not a UFO landing on your front lawn. This shit happens every day. It happened in Baltimore. Right here. How many people remember that? People local might know of it. Because the body cameras record. You press the button and it's always recording, but it's not always storing. But once you hit record, it's going to store the previous seconds. I don't know the number of seconds. The officers didn't know that. So the camera caught them cutting on their body camera, saying, "Ooh, drugs under the chair, drugs under this seat, ooh, drugs in the glove compartment." But they didn't know it recorded earlier as they were putting the drugs in those places and then pretending to find them. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they were on camera, on their own body cameras, caught planting evidence. So what the Valkyrie denies doing, and it turns out he did. If he didn't do it, his friends did it for him. Somebody planted the drugs. Somebody put DNA. Somebody set up the crime scene. And for, I don't know what reason, he was found guilty. This is great. This is great. I mean, I'm loving the fact that we got one deleterious, scandalous, scumbag cop off the street. The problem is there's so many more. Also, while investigating this story, I saw the prosecutor give testimony or give an interview describing how she was threatened, how she had been threatened not to proceed with this case, but that she would not stop this case and she would continue. That she would not bend to the threats on her life. On her life. So who's threatening her life, ladies and gentlemen? The local gang? Well, yes, it is. The Kansas City Police Department. The Vulcanaire's conduct was reckless and violated the Fourth Amendment, which prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures. There was no warrant for the Calvinaire to be on the property. They had not been given access, nor did they request the ability to search. They had no reason to be at the man's house. There was no 911 call for them to go to this person's house. He also denied planting evidence, having any other officer alter evidence, or change their report of the shooting. This is also similar to what happened in Chicago with Laquan McDonald. See, Laquan McDonald's story that I covered on this show, as well as Baltimore. The entire force, well, a number of officers corroborated with the officer who ended up being charged to falsify recordings, to hide evidence. They all lied on their reports for him. They went so far as to try to delete footage from the local fast food restaurant that filmed the whole thing. And there was a lot of denying and a lot of corruption all the way up the line, all the way up to Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who was approaching a re-election and did not want this on his record. So they stuffed down the evidence of a 17-year-old Laquan McDonald being shot nearly 20 times. 18 of those shots while he laid on the ground in a fetal position. So this is not new stuff. Corrupt cops are not new stuff. But for some reason, there are those who don't call that straight. There are those who defend the blue no matter what and in all circumstances and don't question the blue. But citizens, particularly citizens, black citizens, they are very quick to believe anything that's said negatively about those citizens. And then when you point that out, they say, you're playing the race card. Well, you're playing the blue card. And you keep playing it. This officer, DeValcanaire, who killed Cameron Lamb, has also come to my attention. He had formerly been charged with a similar case involving another man And the judge in that case believed him. So this was not his first rodeo. DeValcanaire has done this before. And I don't think those that helped him do it this time are new either. I think this has been going on. Hence, this is the first time in 80 years that a cop's been convicted of killing a black man, as I stated earlier. Anyway, sentencing will be upcoming, and I will keep you informed of that. So when we get happy or excited or we feel somewhat relieved when we get a conviction of a cop, as the case with DeValcanaire and Cameron Lamb, if the cops would not have covered for this horrible cop and the rest of the corrupt cops that I'm assuming are present, you cannot do all of that DNA evidence planning, all of that falsifying of information all by yourself. Somebody either helped or looked the other way. And if all you did was look the other way, you helped. For some strange reason, this type of coverage is not interesting to some people. No, it's not. It's uninteresting as hell. They don't give a flying shit. But I care because I support the battle for justice. That's what I support. And that's that mission I'm on. And you know what? As long as I got my wolf pack having my back and you guys will ride with me, I will continue to do it. And those people who treat me like shit, those people, we will remember them. We will have long memories. But as for today, we fight for justice. Oh, I hope for their sakes, I will be less petty when I get to where I'm going. Because the pendulum swims back and forth. Yeah, I'm fired up. Tired of the bullshit. Next. Speaking of being tired of the bullshit. Last story, guys. So, there's been a couple of nominations, Grammy nominations made. And some people are not very happy with the Grammy nominations that they were announced. A couple of those nominations go to comedians that were formerly canceled or in canceled status. Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle. Controversial comedians Dave Chappelle and Louis C.K., who are both forcefully decried so-called cancel culture, have received Grammy nominations for recent comedy specials. Chappelle and the poet Amir Suleiman are nominated in the Best Spoken Word album category for the Netflix special 846, released in the summer 2020. Then they go into the whole thing about The Closer and HBO and transphobia and all this stuff. Then they go back to Louis C.K. Netflix cut ties with Louis C.K. in his film I Love You, Daddy in 2017 in the wake of several accusations of sexual misconduct and accounts of how he exposed himself to female comedians. After a brief hiatus, the comedian and star of the idol fictional FX show, Louis, returned to touring stand-up. His special Sincerely Louis, the first release since his admission to several acts of misconduct, is a surprise Grammy nomination for Best Comedy Album. Chappelle has previously won 3 Grammys for Best Comedy Album in 2018, The Age of Spin, for Equanimity, The Bird Revelation, and the 2020 Netflix Sticks and Stones. But he faces tough competition and a number of other folks. LeVar Burton's got one nomination. Don Cheadle and John Lewis. Louis C.K. is up against comedians Chelsea Handler, Nat Bargatze, Louis Black, Lavelle Crawford, and Kevin Hart. So here we go, guys. That's all the information and details about it. Now let's talk about it. Is cancel culture a thing? Or is it a fabrication of the right to shut down criticism and to create a boogeyman to go after on the left? Um, well, anything you put a title on is a fabrication of something. They create these things so they can politicize and win points or win whatever. That's what it is. And the right is very good at doing this with cancel culture, wokeness, all this stuff, right? They're very good, like much better it seems than the left. And I don't know. I'll say this though. There is something out there where people kind of, you don't have to call it cancel culture, but just say there are people with the advent of social media that go after people. And they, yell for people to lose their jobs or lose their social status. And that they're employers who bend to the whims of the crowd. But that is more so them reacting to the marketplace. But as we can see, that doesn't always happen. It's still rare for a company to say screw the masses who are decided to cancel someone. Usually when they do it, employers kind of fold. Netflix is like the first one that I saw kind of go no and ignore it to a certain degree. So I think some people do feel empowered by having the ability to get rid of what they don't like. I think it gives some people a sense of power and control. But evidenced by what happened with Chappelle and Louis C.K., you really don't have control because the people have the control. At the end of the day, the people have control. The people decide if they'll buy the record. The people decide if they'll come out on the road. And even though companies are seen big and powerful and all dominating, but at the end of the day, they're still run by people. We haven't had an AI run a company yet. So these companies that decide to fire you are also decided by people. People make those decisions as well. So I think it all depends on what side you end up getting butthurt on or the side that comes after you. And if you become the focal point of online attacks, I've been the focal point of online attacks that were totally falsified. So I know how it feels. People get to make allegations, and no one has to answer for the shit they've done. They can make up anything. And once the snowball starts rolling down the hill, no one's going to stop it. That's been my experience. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have friends in high places to stop it, to assist, to go on the road. I didn't have all these connections. I'm not Dave Chappelle. So when it happened for me, it was like I'm just screwed. And then wonder if you could keep your family living indoors. But those people don't care about that. Because you said something they didn't like about somebody they do like. Is that cancel culture? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just a well-placed smear. Sometimes it's just somebody got you in their crosshairs. Or sometimes it's people behind the scenes that you thought were cool with you who are shitting on your name privately. Even people that you may have broken bread with, done things for. You'd be surprised what comes out and what you discover about so-called friends. Then you realize there really is no friends. It's all bullshit. If you didn't grow up with them, side-eye. Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., you can't cancel people who have the economics and the resources to do their own shit. But poor people like Tim Black, especially poor black people without agency, without support, without connections, yeah, you can cancel them. To a certain degree, you can cancel them. You can make it hard for them to operate. You can make it, I don't think Dave Chappelle was ever threatened that he was going to be shut down. I don't think Louis C.K. was ever really threatened that he'd never do comedy again. He could do a comedy album in his basement. And as long as he has a fan base, which he does, people will pay for it. He didn't have to resort to that. He went on tour anyway. Chappelle on tour anyway. So I guess in a weird way, I guess I'm contradicting myself to a certain degree because there's really no way to cancel somebody with money. Unless, I guess if we say it's all about economics. And if a person has resources. So yeah, I'll go with that. You can cancel culture is real. But you could just call it people that hate you. People that want to destroy you. And people that have fun watching other people be hurt financially. That's what you call it. So there you go. And other people trying to get positions and trying to appease and please other people that can help them in the future. So it's a whole bunch of scandalous shit going on. But at the end of the, to answer the question, yeah, cancel culture is a thing that they made up, these labels that resonate. Just like they say everyone's learning critical race theory when they aren't. It ain't even taught in your damn school. Your son ain't been taught, your daughter ain't been taught critical race theory in 3rd grade, Johnson. They may be taught that black people are humans, and grandma was effed up when she didn't let the kids go to school, the black kids go to school with her. You know, when they spit on the black kids. But that's not the same thing as critical race theory. That's just history. So anyway, fun times, Johnson. You know, people moving to people moving from the level of saying, okay, I don't like someone, I won't spend any money with them. And then we're talking about people not to shop here. They move it all the way to another level of this person's actions are endangering the world. What this person says is a danger to all these people's lives. And sometimes I think that's just a bunch of shit. Okay? But with freedom of speech, you're able to say whatever you want to say. So if they can say the jokes, then you get to say what you want to say. I give up. I totally give up, Johnson. There's this thing called defamation of character, which we need to sue for, which is what we should do. And if I had more means, there's a couple of people I would have sued. Because I think their intentions were very clear of what they were trying to do and why they were doing it. But unfortunately, they chose the right one. Because when you go after broke-ass black people, you ain't got to worry about that. Now, you can say whatever you want. You can threaten them. You can say any horrible shit, and they don't have the agency to fight back. It's all good. Sometimes I wish I was big just once. It's all good. Wow, man. So those goes 3 stories right there I wanted to cover. I thought those were interesting. Keep the stories coming because, like I say, I stumble upon them, see what's going on, things that resonate with my audience. I think that they may care about. And what better way to know what my audience cares about than have the audience make suggestions? So thanks for those who submitted story ideas. We're going to keep the party going, guys. I know it's late. It's Tuesday. It's Wednesday now. It's almost Thanksgiving. But I got a phone line, so why not use it? We pay for it every month, right? It ain't for free, Johnson. Why should we pay them for a phone line we don't use? Screw that. We ain't gonna let them, we're not gonna pay for a phone line we don't use. So let's use that damn phone line. We're not just giving them free money, Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I'm gonna go with 201. Hold on, 201. I gotta cut up my volume and all this good stuff. Okay. 201, you're live. What's your name? What's your comments?
It's Eddie from New Jersey. And, I was looking at...
Hold on, Eddie. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, Eddie, hold tight. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, Eddie, go right ahead, brother. Let me pick you back up. Okay, my bad, Eddie. Go right ahead, brother.
No, it's all good. Yeah, like I said, Eddie from New Jersey. The Fox and the right wing media pushing that Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero and leaving out the omissions of him hitting the girl that was hitting his girlfriend instead of just breaking up the fight. Him saying the people looting, that he wishes he got his AR. They wouldn't cover any of that. Then you go to the left side, and they make a whole different thing about, he went to another state to get a gun. In the trial, we found out that wasn't true. So if we got left and right media that only going to give us their narratives and their biased stories, where did you get your information for the Rittenhouse case? Where did you find the most independent and factual news source?
You got to look at both of them. That's what's horrible about it. You got to look at both cases. You got to look at Fox and CNN and MSNBC, not just one source. But my determination with Kyle Rittenhouse had nothing to do with anything you just listed. My thing was, why is he there? My thing was, why his mom dropped him off? Why would you let your son go to a place where there was protests? But once you can finish with your comment, brother, go right ahead.
Well, see, like the things you just mentioned, those were all CNN and MSNBC. But I watched the trial. The mom didn't drop him off. He actually has his dad, his grandmother. He lived in Kenosha.
Family dropped him off, right? It did, mom or dad, whoever.
No, he drove himself.
He drove himself. I thought he was 17.
He drove himself. He lived in Kenosha with his dad for a while.
Nah, man, he traveled there with people. He traveled with people. He didn't come alone, dude. He did not come there alone.
Where'd you get that information?
Dude, I'm not here to...
They tried pushing that in the trial.
Dude, he's a minor. Dude, he's a minor. In my opinion, a minor should not be able to protest by themselves or with others with guns. That's my contention. You don't have to agree. Just because I don't support Kyle doesn't mean I support CNN. Okay, so there's a difference. I just don't agree with you. It's not that I'm brainwashed by the left. I'm wearing a fucking no Joe Biden button. So I'm not brainwashed by the left. We just fucking disagree. I would never, I have
something that's factual.
What?
How can we disagree on something that's factual? The kid,
I know, I disagree that he shouldn't have been. No, man, fuck, dude. I don't think he should have been there. That's my opinion. He shouldn't have been there.
I have no problem with that.
Okay, why are you questioning why I feel the way I feel then? It's an opinion about the circumstances surrounding it.
Right, so an opinion based on facts.
That's not an opinion. My fact is he's under 18 years old. He should not be at a protest that was formerly violent. That's my opinion as a father of sons and daughters.
I'm a father of three.
Okay, well, I'm telling you, ask me, dude, you called up like you got me or something. Like you caught me, I got you. You didn't get shit. I still think he shouldn't have been there, dude. Nothing you're going to tell me is going to justify this. It should have never fucking happened. He shouldn't have been there. Now, if you want to call someone else's show, dude, if you want to call it's not a straw man. It's called an opinion. You don't know what straw man means. If I feel that he should not have been there, nothing you can say. You do? Because that's what you just did. That's what you did. I don't give a fuck how old you are. You called my show to tell me I'm getting my source of information from Fox, from CNN. When I'm telling you the basis of, I'm telling you don't get to tell me what I base my decision on. I base my decision on the fact that I don't think he should have been there to begin with. Whether you say his mama drove him, or his cousin drove him, or whoever the fuck drove him, did his parents know he was going to a protest? Yes or no? The answer is yes. Should that be something they allow their underage child to do? Fuck no. So as a black father, case closed, face closed. I think everyone that he shot after he shot Rosenbaum was just responding to an active shooter. That's what I think. That don't have anything to do with CNN or Fox News. And I'm writing your number down so you don't call my show again. So how about that, Eddie from New Jersey? Because basically you've called before. I knew I saw your number. I knew. That's why I paused my show to go look. Because you're a troll that called before about Kyle Rittenhouse. Dude, talk to me about Ahmaud Arbery. Talk to me about Ahmaud Arbery. Tell me about Ahmaud Arbery, the young man who was killed by 3 white guys like yourself. Talk to me about that. Let's hear you talk about that. Kyle case is over. He walked. Yeah, Ahmaud Arbery.
You gonna let me talk?
The 25-year-old man who was lynched by white guys like you. Go ahead and tell me about that case. Kyle is free. Kyle is free. Go ahead.
Okay, Ahmaud Arbery was found to, be completely and utterly innocent of anything. He was hunted and killed by racists. Completely different situation.
I didn't say it was the same. Tell me some more about it. Tell me some more. Tell me some more about it.
Garner lives around where I live.
Okay, tell me some more about it. Go ahead.
About which one?
About Ahmaud Arbery. About Ahmaud Arbery. What I just asked you.
Arbery?
Yeah.
Kyle's
case is over. Dude, Kyle's case is...
No reason for him to be killed.
Of course there's no reason to be killed. He was fucking murdered, dude. Of course there's no reason. He got murdered.
You're saying that I disagree with you, and I don't disagree with you on that.
Well, keep going. Where did you get your news about Ahmaud Arbery?
I got my news from independent news sources.
What's the what's the sources? Where they get, if they're independent, where do they get their news from?
I listened to Crystal Ball on that breaking thing, and was it Kyle? I listened to you.
Okay. In my opinion, Crystal Ball and Kyle are anti-black news, in my opinion. But that's fine. But what I'm telling you is they get their news from somewhere, dude. They do the same thing I do. They watch Fox News. They watch MSNBC. They don't have a secret bad connection to information. We all, independent media, unfortunately, cannot afford to go to locations to get our news firsthand. But I don't appreciate you calling up as if what my opinion is of Kyle Rittenhouse has anything to do with CNN. I shit on CNN more than I shit on Fox News. I don't even watch Fox News. And I can have an opinion that I think that Kyle Rittenhouse should have stayed at home. But why do you give a fuck? It's over. He's fucking free. What I think about the case doesn't matter. Because as usual, the motherfucker got off. Of course you should. I'm glad you support Ahmaud Arbery's killers getting life in prison. That's the right, correct verdict based on the information. But that's obviously that's a very easy toss-up. I mean, only the racist of the most racist would think it's okay for 3 guys to get in a pickup truck and hunt down a guy. Kyle Rittenhouse's story was a little bit different. I don't think Kyle Rittenhouse was attacked by those other 2 people, the second 2 people, Hubert and Gorkeister, whatever fuck. I don't think those 2 men went after him because he's named Kyle and he had a hat on. I don't think they did it just to do it. I think they was responding to the earlier shooting that they saw, and they thought he killed a guy. He did, and they didn't know the circumstances. That's what I believe. But be it as it may, it doesn't matter, man. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life talking about Kyle because there's always a new case, such as the ones I reported on tonight. But just the fact that you got Kyle stuck up your ass, you know what I'm saying? It bothers me. I'm covering news of other shit. Like a cop right now who just got convicted, who's playing evidence and got a whole department playing evidence on a kid that they blew away in his own backyard. You don't know anything about that case, nor do you give a fuck, because you want to call up Bagachas about fucking Kyle Rittenhouse, who's a free man who was on Tucker last night. I'm going to go next call. 678, you are live. What's your name? What's your comment?
What's going on, brother? You on fire again. This is Robbie Blue in Atlanta.
What's up, Robbie? Talk to me, brother.
Man, I thought I had some talking points, right? But after this last caller, man, I'm throwing all of that in the trash can, and I'm just going to speak from my heart. And I think with all the situations that you brought up, all the media information, the first thing that I want to say, if we're brutally honest, specifically white males, older white males, traditionally speaking in this country, they don't want to share power. And if I was in their position, I wouldn't want to, because it goes beyond white privilege. If you're a white male, you have been able to exercise power. Now, what is power? That is the ability to punish and reward. Now, the rewarding, that works because you can reward coons, you can bribe people, you can have all the corruption that you see in police departments and countries all around the world. If they can't bribe you, then they'll send the assassins in. So everybody likes lobbying and fundraising and moving money around. But when it comes to punishment, like when you see white officers being punished, when you see progressive movements coming to protect the rights of women or protect minorities, then people get bent out of shape because it increases the likelihood of, guess what? Fairness. And that's the biggest thing that people get upset about. And they try to troll when they know something is obviously unfair and there's abuse of power. That's always been everybody's gripe. Look, man, we're not against the system. We're just saying don't abuse your power. If you're wearing a police badge, don't abuse the power. If you're a judge and you forgot to wear your white robe and you put a black robe on, don't abuse your power. And when it comes to polarization, I think people have been conditioned through the media, through funneling. See, now, like how you were saying, they have all the media consolidated, even though it's privatized, where they can counsel who they want based on, again, money and funding, reward and punishment. But I believe that media does shape culture, because you can look, 50, 60 years ago when they had movies like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and you started having movies that were like progressive, that were planting the idea in people's minds about ending Jim Crow and more inclusionism. And then they follow it up with sci-fi, right? With Gene Roddenberry with inclusionism. So we know that media can shape society. Joseph Goebbels showed us that. Our own media has shown us that. It's just we're dealing with dishonest people that don't want to get to the square root. And what the square root is, whether I'm as rich as Donald Trump or whether I'm poor in the White House, in the outhouse behind the White House, I still have more power. I can tell LeBron James to shut up and dribble. And trolling on black people is a form of entertainment. That's why we see all these in-jokes and all these people now saying they hate joggers and all this. It gives them a sense of power and entitlement, because they know at the end of the day, they don't have to do allegedly what the brother did. If he did do it as some backlash, they know that the law is supposed to work for them. So they don't have to get their hands dirty. And lastly, I'll sum up. If you look at the psychological implications with Kyle Rittenhouse, the significance of it, he represents an able-bodied man of the age of war, right? Your warriors are between 18 and 25. That's why they're protecting him, because these white supremacists care about the future. And they're like, we are showing not only our young people that we will protect them, but this is how we want you to think. And again, this is how you're going to be rewarded. We're going to put money behind you. The weight of the system will be behind you. You need to keep these Negroes in line, because guess what? Insurance companies getting tired of the buildings being burned. And that's the only reason why they are being fair, potentially with Ahmaud Arbery, especially with George Floyd, because the threat of economic sanctions via black rage and progressive rage, yeah, we're like, y'all ain't playing fair? Heck yeah, we're going to burn something down. We don't own nothing anyway. We got to hit you in your pocket and put economic sanctions on you in a malicious manner to get people who do have money to put pressure on some of these judges to finally do the right thing. And that's sad and sick.
Wow, brother, I appreciate the phone call, man. Way to go, Robbie, man. It's very much needed, brother.
All right, man. All right.
My man. Give it up for Robbie, y'all. Come on now. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. A real call. I guess the white guys are not going to stop thumping their chests about Kyle Rittenhouse. I guess it's going to be a long fucking rest of the year. Oh, guys, not enough for their guy to not be convicted. It's not enough for them to walk away free. No, it's not enough. No, the mere thought that, first of all, people live in different parts of the country like I do. You can't walk around with an AR-15 in Maryland or D.C. This is where I live. So it's all foreign to me. The motherfuckers are walking around with those guns. I realize other states have different laws. Realize that other people in other states look at shit as crazy. Because it's not our normal. It's your normal. But to us, it seems crazy. America is like 50 fucking countries. That's, so I get that. I understand that, People need to accept that and respect that. That's not a person being a sheep. That's because they live in a different culture than you. But yeah, it's highly problematic, man. But I could do my thing, bring out a story in Kansas City where a young man, 29 years old, is murdered by a cop in his own fucking backyard. He's not at a march. He's not trying to fight motherfuckers to put out dumpsters. Trying to help people that didn't even hire him to go police an area that he doesn't need to be in. No authority to be. He's at his fucking house. The boys in blue planted guns. This guy had nothing to say. That's because since the last time he's called my show, he's been waiting to call up to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse all over again. This is the type of shit you put up when you're in independent media. You got to put up with this shit because you don't have a way to just block him. He's called back 4 times. I'm sitting there talking to other people. He's still calling back. Go fuck yourself. 916. 916, you are welcome to the show. What's your name? What's your comment?
What's up, brother? This is Information Man from Cali. I've been sitting back and I've been listening to the nonsense, the buffoonery, and let's just keep it 100% real. We know that the founders, the wig-wearing founders of this country, set up the laws in this country to basically benefit rich white men, particularly landowners, and it trickled down to benefiting white folks in this society. Kyle Rittenhouse has become the poster boy and child for this white, nationalist movement because they're the ones banging the bell for him and the drum for him. And this is what I want everybody to ponder, brother, and you've heard this. What if Kyle was a black young man and he had went out there and did what he did? Would he had got that type of justice? Would he had got a judge that would hold him in his bosom as if he's his son, his father, or his grandfather, and give him all that pass like he did when he should have gotten that felony? He should have gotten charged for having a gun underage. He didn't supposed to have that. And look, brother, I did a show about this and I looked at the law. And it clearly states in their law in Wisconsin that a underage minor in the state of Wisconsin should not have a weapon, particularly unsupervised by parental guidance. So that alone is wrong. And then nobody has called out the parents. Why'd you let your son go out there like that? Why'd you even take him there, right? But if it had been a black youngster, everybody would have been saying, see, what's wrong with the black community, the black mother, the black father? Where is the father? Where is the black mother? Why is this black child out here shooting? You go into a situation that's hostile You bring a gun, which is already sending a message to people in a hostile environment. Oh, and by the way, Brother Tim Black and everybody in the chat room, the judge even threw out the evidence that they were trying to put in that he had been pointing. You know, they say he didn't point a gun at anybody. Well, there were a couple of black guys out there that night that he pointed the gun at, that they didn't put in the trial. When they said, oh, he didn't point a gun at nobody, he was just trying to be a medic. He's not a medic. Oh, the people who own the car business said that they didn't ask Kyle and his band of merry mess to even be out there guarding their business, and they never put in the evidence how he was pointing that gun at a couple of black folks, even though now Kyle wants to say he supports Black Lives Matter. It's all buffoonery, Tim Black. It's all bullshit. And we're seeing what this country is really made of before our eyes, while Aubrey is being told he got dirty toes and he's got dirty feet. And while Trayvon Martin didn't get no justice for defending himself against a man who shot him with a gun, who wasn't a cop, who wasn't a night watchman, police told him to stand down, the police dispatcher, and he killed that young man on Stand Your Ground and got no justice, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Keep talking truth to power.
My brother, information man, give it up for that brother. Give it up for that brother, man. It's very infuriating, brother. You know, I've covered those cases that you talked about that you just highlighted. I'm so glad that you brought them up. And also you add some more texture and context to what we're dealing with. But at the end of the day, these guys don't really care about justice for all of us. You know, instead what they want to do is run interference and take back America from the blacks and the lads. These times, you know, look, man, when I brought up John Crawford, for instance, holding a gun in Ohio at a Walmart, the gun he was holding was sold at the Walmart. The cops shoot and kill him in 2 seconds. There were people in the comment section saying, well, it's not the cops' fault, it's the people that called him fault. It's if cops can't ascertain a situation. Like, whatever it is, brother, whenever we get killed, whenever cops kill us, they have an excuse for it. Oh, the cops, well, it's not their fault. Someone called and said he had a gun. They're just doing their job. They show up, he had a gun, they shot him. Yeah, they don't make that mistake with white guys in Walmart with guns with tags on them at a gun display. But this guy, for instance, this guy Eddie, this asshole, he won't call up and talk about that because he doesn't care about that. He cares about the victory lap of Kyle. My thing has always been, even to those cornballs, Abe and Preach, this has ramifications for black people. I know you don't give a fuck, but black people are the ones who march, who hold these rallies. We're the ones. Lately, we've been having a lot of participation from the whites, and that's great. I'm glad white people are chiming in. But typically, when you look at marches, they are inspired and started by black people all over this country. I know the Baltimore Uprising was led by black people from Freddie Gray. When we have a precedence that's being set, that white guys can show up with guns and police to protect property that ain't even their property. We know what happened. How many people know what happened with Katrina when white guys were protecting their property? A lot of bodies in the river. A lot of black bodies in the river. Because for some reason, when white people are seen carrying groceries on top of their heads, they're scavenging for food. But when black people are seen carrying groceries on their heads in floodwaters, they are looters. And this is the mentality of America. But people like Eddie don't give a fuck about that. And neither do Abba and Preach. And even the people that watch him. Get what I'm saying, guys? It's the same scenario. It's always applying different rules depending on the person's color. And in politics. Most of the people that push back about Kyle Rittenhouse keep pointing to Rosenbaum's past. They keep pointing at Hubert's past. They put at Grosskurt's past. I don't care about their past because I know a white man convicted of 5 counts of child molestation, you don't look at them any better than you look at the average black guy. And you can say it's different, but I don't believe you. Because when he shot and killed him, they didn't know who he was. If he would have been in a Black Lives Matter protest with a bunch of black guys, I believe this story right here would have ended the same way. It would have ended the same way. But it's perfect. They get to villainize these guys. And it's an evil setup for more bloodshed. And I think that bloodshed will be black blood from white guys who say they're just going to police property. And if you don't know anything about history, this has been the lie that is used by white people all throughout history. If it ain't defending some property that ain't even yours, it's defending the flag that you don't own, or defending some white woman from being looked at. These are the excuses that white people have historically used to kill black people. And you want a person like me, who's a conscious black man, to see this all unraveling and for me to be nice and say, oh, poor Kyle. Or no, I see the ramifications of Kyle. I've said in countless videos, this ain't about Kyle. This is about a precedent that's being set that will put more people in harm's way, that will embolden more white nationalists, more militiamen to show up at events with guns. That may not be a problem for you. But the next black killing, like Cameron Lamb was killed. I'm sure there were protests for Cameron Lamb. Someone may have busted a window. Oh my God, someone busted a window. These niggas are going crazy. What are we gonna do? Oh my God, they're breaking windows. You don't give a shit that the cops were corrupt, that this cop murdered him, and they got all his buddies in his apartment to lie for him. You just said, oh well, it was a black guy, he deserved what he got. The cop said he had a gun, and I believe the cop because he's a cop. And that's it. So that's why I don't care what you say, Eddie. Fuck Kyle Rittenhouse. And fuck him getting on Tucker Carlson with Jimmy Dore's friend and saying, I support BLM. I don't think you do. I think you just want to be famous, bro. Which is what your TikTok profile said when nobody was looking at it. I think you want 4 doors, more whores, which is what your TikTok username was. And I know if a black kid whose TikTok profile was 4 doors, more whores, whose tagline was, I just want to be famous, posing with guns, I think America would have looked at you a little bit different. And assholes like this guy Eddie, who won't get out my damn phone queue, will deny that all day. 7 days a week and 4 times on Sunday because he's garbage. But I'm going to go to the next call. 559, you in the house. What's up, 559? What's your comment?
Brother Tim, you know, you can't blame Brother Eddie. He probably ate too many paint chips as a kid. So no, wait a minute. I know what it is. It's Obama, isn't it? Don't we blame him for everything? Or no, wait. Bernie, that's right. It's Bernie's fault that, you know, Eddie's the way he is. I'm sure, you know, just take it and run with it and just, you know, shoo. But I want to share some. I'm actually glad the brother that called before me shared what he did, because that actually was a lot of what I was gonna, when I heard him call in, I thought, you know what, because I actually know a bit about where you know, Kenosha is, and in fact where he bought the gun. We call that Bumpkinville, and you saw that on full display, and there's right now a whole lot of things you can take away from it. In fact, where he bought the gun, a place that nobody's ever heard of, Ladysmith, Wisconsin. I was actually with school over there. In fact, I stuck out like a sore thumb because I was from California. I went to the school that was there at the time, and I was on the football team, among the other people, let's just say the outsiders. So they knew who we were, and it was strange. Small town Americana. At the time that I was there, the whole town was like about 2,700 people, the 700 of which was the college at the time. So
This shit runs deep, and I didn't realize that. I knew how deep it went. You know, I had an idea of how deep it went when I was there because we got the talking to of, you know what, we appreciate you guys being here, but don't let me catch your ass at the wrong time of the night doing what I don't think you should be doing if you get my drift. So, and we read that loud and clear. But what we're seeing now is in Bumpkinville and in Kenosha, Wisconsin, these are the crazies taking over. That judge, I'm glad he brought it up. Yeah, that judge, I don't think a lot of the stuff that he did was legal. I've never seen a judge be that adversarial with his prosecutor. And it's been actually very amusing hearing some of the commentary because oh yeah, I want Rittenhouse's attorney. I want Rittenhouse's attorney. If you watch that trial and came out with, I want his attorney, you didn't watch the same thing I did. I want the judge, because the judge was the one that was interrupting the prosecutor. The judge was the one that was coming up with different that didn't when they did. He didn't allow, oh yeah, you can't call them victims. I knew immediately something was up. And I'm to tell you something. This is what we got to pay attention to. The batshit crazy people. I keep hearing this stuff where, oh, it's not a coup what they did on the January 6th. It's not a coup. I know what a real coup is. Let me tell you something, motherfucker. Not all coups happen to the barrel of a gun. We're seeing right now, they're putting themselves in very strategic positions right now, aren't they? You saw that judge. That judge is a batshit crazy asshole. Imagine more of them. And the funny thing is that we need to, not fall into the self-righteous trap, because it's like, well, what does voting matter? What's voting for? No. That judge was elected. Voting did matter in that case. It may not matter everywhere else, but it did matter in that case. Where does it matter? We need to find that out, because they're putting themselves in those positions. It's not sexy. It's not going to get you laid, right? It's not the panty dropper that it seems to be, or that's billed out to be. But boy, when they get in there, it's hard to get out. And then they have the respectability of what? The government. And, well, see, it's all legal. See, he's a judge. After all, he made a ruling. It's all legal, isn't it? Well, now what do we take from that? Well, I agree with a lot of what you said. I would actually extend it a bit further, and kind of what I heard another brother, YouTuber, mention, that you could take this a couple of ways. You could take it as, we can maybe both sides of the same coin. Maybe I want to go to some of these protests fully strapped. Maybe I got some property that I want to protect. You set the precedent, and it goes right into what you were saying. All that means is more bloodshed. But to me, the ultimate takeaway is we need to start paying attention to this shit more. The mail carriers, the people in charge of the districts, voting especially, all these unsexy positions, right, that don't probably pay a whole lot, don't really get a lot of notoriety. They are taking over that because they've said to themselves, you know what? What if we had our guys in there? And we just saw an example of that. I think that, as far as judicial review goes, that guy needs to go, because I've never, ever, and ask yourselves, have you ever seen a judge act the way he did?
Nope.
I don't watch a whole lot of that stuff or pay enough of attention, but I'm going to tell you now, that seems suspicious to me. So just wanted to contribute that. And like I said, not every coup happens with the barrel of a gun. This coup is unsexy and administrative. So,
Brother Eric in the house, man. I appreciate it, Brother Eric. Give it up for my caller, y'all. Damn, guys. I tell you, that's something else. That is really something else, Johnson. Yeah, that's been my contention, that it's just going to lead to more and more of the same. But the biggest tip off was the fact that it was such a cozy relationship. I had my man call up and said, "Hey Tim, we love the way the judge is treating these prosecutors. They should do more of that." Well, yeah, but will they? I don't recall a prosecutor doing that for, I don't recall a judge being nice to black defendants in that way. I've never seen it before. But hey, I don't watch every case. I just can't recall one. Typically, due to time constraints, I'm only covering like police issues, like police cases involving law enforcement and citizens being killed. Those are the ones I usually follow. Kyle Rittenhouse is kind of an extraordinary case, no regular case that I would follow in that way. But I watch the testimony. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't watch commentators. I watch testimony, for the most part. I mean, just like I did with George Floyd. We all know the CNNs and MSNBCs and Foxes are going to leave a lot of shit out. So I try not to form my opinions based on those news entities. I watch the trial, the actual trial. I reported on the fact that I think Grosskreutz, he admitted, like, the case for the police guy said when he pulled a gun, that's when Kyle shot him, But I was looking at the fact that Grosskreutz could have shot Kyle at any time if that was an intention. He could have shot him in the back. He was right behind Kyle the whole time. So I put that in consideration. And I said, well, did Grosskreutz pull that gun because Hubert was just shot? That's what I think influenced him. So there was a converse of different actions that took place after the shooting of Rosenbaum, which I don't think need to happen. I know that Kyle Rittenhouse people think he had to shoot this guy 4 times. He was unarmed. I come from a different era. If somebody wants to fight me, I put down my gun and beat their ass. Kyle was bigger and heavier than Rosenbaum, and he was strapped. Rosenbaum was a kid off his meds, a bad guy off his meds. Now he's a dead guy, but that led us to everything else. I don't think Grosskreutz would have pulled a gun on Kyle if it weren't for the shooting. I don't think Hubert would have hit him with a skateboard if it weren't for the earlier shooting. So I don't think Rittenhouse, if Rittenhouse is not there, this doesn't happen. Because he doesn't get into it with Rosenbaum, he doesn't shoot anybody 4 times. And if he would have had one of those guys with him, this wouldn't have happened. If he wasn't by himself, he's under 18. He shouldn't have been by himself. And none of this happens. And then Information Man says, legally he could have been by himself. He had to be accompanied by an adult because he's underage to have a gun and to be out there. To have that gun and to be unaccompanied by an adult. But we're going to let all that go. But why are they letting it all go? They're letting it all go is because it upholds their worldview. That's all it is. That's all it is, Johnson. So I appreciate you, Brother Eric. Get out of my car. Man, this guy, tomorrow I'll look into how we block numbers. I've been doing this show 10 years. I've never had such an asshole call my show repeatedly. Never had it, man. Never had it. 10 years of all types of stories. That's how much the white guys are invested in Kyle Rittenhouse. This guy has called back 15 times about a case that the guy won. He has called 15, 16 times to talk about a case that a guy won. Now, this is the funny thing, guys. I've covered so many cases of black people being killed and not winning shit. Okay? I never felt the inclination to call up to a show 17 times to talk about it, to gloat about it, and to tell other people that they were wrong about the ruling going the way I thought it should go. This is what it means to be a white guy in America. You could win and still feel so attacked. You could still feel so bad, so offended, so assaulted that you have the biggest pole stuck up your ass. Imagine what he'd do if Kyle wouldn't have won. Imagine what he would do if the prosecution would have been able to get a conviction. Oh, God, he'd be strapping a bomb to him and running into a church, into a black church. Look at this guy. Look at him. The guy, this is the 18th time. 18th time, guys. He makes all white guys look like shit. Kyle is a free man. He's going to be made movies. They're talking about giving an honorary some shit in Congress. And that's not enough. That's not enough for white man. Why do you make white man has to make sure the world knows that anybody who disagrees with Kyle And his precious court system is evil and wrong. Well, here goes a little message to your little court system. Once upon a time, it was legal to have slaves in this very country. That don't make it fucking right, Johnson. Once upon a time, there was no such thing as a 40-hour work week in this country. That don't make it right, Johnson. Once upon a time, there was forced segregation on black people. That doesn't make it right, Johnson. Okay? The GI Bill. Black people did not get the GI Bill, though we went to the World War I and fought and that motherfucking died beside you. That doesn't make it right, Johnson. So there's been all types of rules and all types of rulings that white people have. And just because you have them, just because your government agrees to them, doesn't make them right, Johnson. So I don't have to agree with you just because that's the way the court decided it to be. I didn't agree with you before. There's a lot of shit I don't agree with you on. Kyle Rittenhouse is the least of my problems. I want reparations for my people. I bet you wouldn't call up 20 times about black people getting reparations for having their children cut out of their wombs and thrown to alligators. I bet you wouldn't call 20 times about that. I bet you wouldn't call up 20 times about the business my dad wanted to start, but he couldn't get the fucking loan. Or about the hyped up interest rate that we got on homes. Or the extra, I don't know, they say, the extra amount of bodies that cops catch, citizens that are killed by police that weren't being reported. A new report shows. 56% of shootings were never even reported. But I bet you wouldn't call up 20 times about that. No, you wouldn't call up 20 times about that. That's not that important to you. Because you're very unlikely to be one of those people. Because we're 4 times more likely as a black person to be shot by a cop. But see, that's not something that's passionate to you. You're impassioned about a 18-year-old kid who just walked free, who just went on Fox News. And how mean the world is to him. Well, there's a little kid named Tamir Rice who should have been alive. Yesterday was his birthday. And he doesn't get to have a birthday anymore because he had a toy gun at a park in an open carry state. And some people say he looked like an adult. Well, you can have a gun in Ohio. Next excuse. Within 2 seconds, they blew his head off. And the cop, last time I heard, was still a cop. So I have bigger fish to fry. I know you want to stay stuck on Kyle. Because I know it means so much to you. You guys have neurosis, man. You guys have a psychosis. Seriously. Guys like you. I know you're not all white guys, but you make white guys look horrible. And you type of white guys have a problem, man. You are dangerous. You are a threat to the rest of us. When people are worried about woke people, woke left, outing or doxing jury members, I told you in no uncertain terms, who you need to be worried about, jury? The jury need to be worried about white guys. Zimmerman's been walking around this whole time. Nothing's ever happened to him. I don't think we were who you should be worried about. The woke left, they ain't doing shit to nobody that's going to leave more than a paper cut. You're talking about some people on Twitter. Last time I checked, the woke left didn't storm the Capitol. But I know, no big deal because it's all white. So it's all right. Some people are just full of shit. And all those things are just listed. All factual. Not enough to make you passionate about that to keep calling. No. Because you had to convince the world that Kyle was right when he killed those people. Are you related to Kyle? Just checking. I'm going to go to the next caller who's able to call my show. Not you, dude. 408, you are live. What is your name? What's your comment?
Hi there, Tim. Hey, I just got home from work, so excuse me if a lot of things that I'm going to say is review. I wasn't able to see your show. This is Green Party Mike over in California.
My brother.
Hey, so this Rittenhouse trial really brought something to light for me. Not that I didn't see it before, but it really like nailed home something that the left media is racist as hell. Because in this trial, the left was defending Kyle Rittenhouse. Look, I know your station. I know that you're focused on black issues. I agree with what you push. I'm not black. I'm Hispanic. Okay, but I agree with what you talk about. I agree with what you're saying. But left media is supposed to support certain issues, black issues being one of them, and another issue is gun rights or gun control. They stuck up for Kyle Rittenhouse, suggesting that it wasn't a race issue when the protest was to support a black victim of police shooting. One thing the left media kept bringing up was, oh, well, he shot white people, so that makes it not racist. But the reason they reveal themselves as racist is because white people, some who are true progressives, have always stood with civil rights, no matter what race it is. So the fact that people of different colors can be shot at a protest for one particular group, they ignore that. You know what I mean? They don't see that it's racist to assume that because it was a protest for a black victim, that, oh, it was only going to be black victims that were shot. No, it's racist to have that point of view, to think that, oh, only black people are going to be at a civil rights protest. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, that's what solidarity is. That's one point. The other thing is, so if they're going to be against the, oh, it wasn't a racist issue, what about a gun control issue? Obviously, people who are on the left or consider themselves progressive would bring up the point that if he didn't have the gun there, nobody would have been killed. And that was a great argument. This is a great example for gun control. None of them are bringing it up. So how are they really progressive media? I haven't seen any media talk about that yet, about gun control. All they want to say is, oh, it wasn't about race, when it was obviously about race. And also that judge, if they can't see that telling the prosecutor that the victims were not victims because it would be alleged, but you can call them rioters and arsonists when nobody's been convicted of rioting and arson, so it's only alleged as well. That was obvious bias. That was legal bias and obviously racist bias. You know what I mean? But they don't bring those points up. They don't bring the negative points up of Rittenhouse. Like, for instance, again, going back to Trayvon Martin, they character assassinated Trayvon Martin. But they didn't bring those issues up about Rittenhouse.
There it is.
They buried them. And, I mean, obviously, it really opened my eyes this time. Sometimes I excuse them. Sometimes I excuse the left media, like, well, maybe they're just not there. This time, it was very vivid that they are biased, that they're racist. I'm not going to mention people's names.
You can.
You guys know it. You guys know who it is. But damn it, I mean, for lack of a better word, it's black and white. It was there in black and white. You know, yeah. Tim, I came home from work because I've been wanting to tell your audience that and just give my perspective. I know, like I said, I know some of it's review, but yeah, lefty media, man. It's trash.
My brother, I love this
Anyway,
guy.
that's all I got to say, Tim.
Thank you, Mike, for the
Doing
Green
a great
Party.
job, man. Thank you for everything you do.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for acknowledging that. Give it up for my caller. Give it up. Give it up for my caller, yo. That's what I'm talking about. Give it up for my caller, man. Wow. Look, this is my caller. My caller called up and said exactly what I've been talking about. Now you understand. Now you get it, brother. And I'm not saying I'm not saying you didn't get it earlier. You may have gotten it earlier. This is why I no longer consider myself on the left. I'm no longer a progressive. And this is why it's been hard for me to convince some people that I'm not with these people because they knew this all along. And I turned a blind eye to it. I must have ignored it. I just thought it was fine that I was the one covering this shit. It wasn't until I needed this solidarity that I realized there was nobody there solidifying with me. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that I wouldn't ride and die for black issues and talk about these things. But I was fine with those people not doing it because I was the one on the left doing it. And don't get me wrong, there's other people that chime in. The political thirst trap. You know, they do their thing. I'm not taking anything away from some of the other brothers. They're kind of new to the scene. These people were not there. You know, these people are new. We're talking about being here a decade. In the last 6 years, of me covering this stuff from a more political standpoint. So I'm not, so this is why I called them out. You're damn right. They said there was no black. This is not black because the people that died weren't black, even though they were there for the shooting and paralyzing of a black man. And you're damn right they did. They always degrade the reputation and the character of black victims. And those are deceased victims. They wouldn't even put Kyle's character on display and look at his background, and he's alive. But you can see, this is how we get callers like Eddie. Think of the damage. What did Eddie say? I watched Kyle Kalinske, and I watched Crystal Ball in Breaking Points. Exactly. He thinks that is positive, that is a good source of information that will give him an insight into black issues. He thinks that they are good leftists. He thinks that they're good progressives. When they are not. Now, when it comes to any black politics, they'll bring on the occasional black person to throw cover, but in reality, these people are anti-black for the most part. If you don't support reparations and the black agenda, you don't support black people, because that's what's going to be needed for black people to stop being the bottom of the bottom in America. It's just what it is. And neither one of those people that he mentioned give a fuck. Now, if you said, Tim, do you support indigenous people being able to control their own land and for us not being able to run a pipeline through it that could cut off their water supply? I'd say, yeah, I support them being able to control their own land. Kyle and Crystal will be sitting there saying, well, politically, would it be is it a good look or not? That's not what I do. I'm not concerned about political good looks. I'm not concerned about what's going to win an election for said person. I'm not a political strategist for a certain for the Democratic Party. I'm here to advocate for black people, and these people do not. So what they do is when they omit arguments, such as the gun laws, when they omit arguments such as the real reason Kyle Rittenhouse was there, they do a disservice to viewership, and those people is evident. Now I'm dealing with one of their people right now, who's been radicalized by them, telling me Kyle did nothing wrong. Kyle's an innocent man tormented by the state. And thank God he put down those heathens that he put down. You know, we've had diversity. I think it was a message being sent They're white people. When you stand with black people, they'll kill you too. And I think that message was sent and received. And that's the problem that I have. That's my concern as well. Because there was a growing coalition. There were white people in the streets with black people. It was amazing. I'd never seen this before. To the extent of what I've been seeing, it's been amazing. Haven't seen it since the 60s. And of course, I wasn't there, but in the pictures, remember that? We see MLK, and there'd be some white people walking in the front with him. The Freedom Rides. There were white kids who died on the Freedom Rides. This was a reminder to white people you can die by supporting black causes. And we're going to villainize you in death. Because that's what they did. I'm going to go to the next call. Terrific stuff, guys. This has a dangerous effect, a very chilling effect on activism, protesting. It has a chilling effect on freedom of speech and a lot of other things. Because you could go anywhere and someone could throw over a trash can. Anyone could go to a rally and make it violent. We just had Boogaloo Boys. There was one Boogaloo Boy, I covered this story, who was arrested and charged and convicted of attending Black Lives Matter protests, posing as a Black Lives Matter activist, and shooting up a police station. So Kyle sees that, he starts shooting, and who is he going to hit? What's he going to think? Who's he going to think's doing it? Huh? What's going to happen? We got a bunch of kids like Kyle at Black Lives Matter protests where Boogaloo Boys do things to incite and bring on a civil war, which is what their purpose is. Meanwhile, we got people that say they're on the left who platform Boogaloo Boys and say, what's wrong? They said they like BLM and they want to end wars and they like Julian Assange. I say we team up with them. But to Mike's point, and I appreciate this, Mike, you said this situation, as grim as it may be, as frustrating as it is, as sad as it is, as heinous as the outcome, as horrific as the implications, it has given you an opportunity to see the left media for what it is. It doesn't include everyone, but it includes a lot of folks. And I do notice there are some people that are now calling out others. I've been doing this shit for a year, Johnson, at a great expense and a great toll. It's very nice to see people come in now with their 2 cents to say, and I appreciate that. I appreciate it. But I've been calling out this shit for the last year. So we could take up the rear on a cause that was evidence a year ago. Ben Dixon and I suffered greatly calling out Jimmy Dore. Because it was really easy to paint the black guys calling out Jimmy Dore as fringe, crazy black people, black extremists or some shit. But then when David Doyle and the Humanist Report call out Jimmy Dore, people go, yay, these guys got guts, they got courage. And unlike Bennett seemed to have bounced back because he's more establishment. He could get a deal with like Act.tv and be able to go on certain shows and do certain things. Me being anti-establishment, I take the hit, but I have nowhere to go. So I can't recoup for standing up to Jimmy Dore. But now it's an in thing to do. This guy, Sean, puts out a video and people are like, yeah, see, that shows. I was telling you that Jimmy Dore was full of shit 9 months ago. Not only did people not believe me, they stacked up against me. So, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that people are seeing it for what it is. I wish they were much sooner to the game. I wish they were much sooner. That they came through much sooner on this, that they came around to it. But come on, everyone knew it. They knew it. They just didn't want to risk anything. Everyone knew. How could you go on Tucker Carlson time after time after time and not challenge Tucker Carlson? Guy's a propagandist like a motherfucker. How could y'all act like that was regular shit? Like that's what revolutionaries do. Come on, man. So I don't consider myself a progressive. I believe in some progressive policies, but I'm a true justice fighter and an activist and a journalist and part-time comedian. And I'm going to go to my next call. 808, you are live. What's your name? What's your comment?
Yo, Tim Black. It's William from Hawaii.
Hey, William, what's up?
Tim, like I told you, man, Jimmy Dore, the original hacktivist. Tim Black, the original Mactivist. A little bit of everything, man. I wanted to respond real quick. First, the left and the right media talking about corporate media. Man, it's never about black or white issues. It's all about green issues, and we know the majority of the green that's held in this country is held by the color white, and that's it. I mean, they're going to side that way no matter what because that's what pays. And I like that. We've had a conversation about this before, Tim. The terms, all the terms, progressive, the left, it's all that shit has been copped over by those. I mean, fucking Kamala Harris. When Kamala Harris first started running a year before the primaries, she considered her. Who in that field did not consider themselves to be a progressive? And if that field is what we should hold as a standard of progressive, then you can forget that word progressive. Pete Buttigieg came out talking about how progressive he is. I want no part of that term either. We're just going to have to start coming up with our own shit and it's got to be something so bad that they can't possibly use the term. Just horrible terms so they can't take them over and raise money on it and get a little interest, and then they get some money raised, and then all of a sudden, they got their same corporate backers and they change their mind on everything. Second, I brought this up. I gotta say real quick. You and Nina Turner, I just love to see the two of you together. Just well done. And man, you are always so on point too. The two of you work really well together. Whether she's interviewing you, which is the first time I've seen that, or you interviewing her, the two of you feed into each other really well and make some really good points and make individuals think about what's going on in the world today. Now I got to go. Now here's the low point, and I brought this up last week. I think it's dangerous. And this is sort of in response to Brother Eric that had called earlier. I understand, and that's what scares me. The Rittenhouse decision, beyond all the facts and figures, what scares me is the twist that's being put on it by both sides of the media. I think is very dangerous, and I agree with you. I do think it sets a precedent for crazy ass white people to go out and go all out vigilante. On the flip side of that, I worry too. I don't think that we can look at the judge and the way that the judge handled that case. The way the judge handled that case should be the rule, not the exception. And I know it's difficult to understand for some people because people look at it because of the other precedents it sets. But we should look at that judge's way of handling the case as being a precedent too. And then we go back, and when the shoe is on the other foot, then we look back at that judge and say, well, wait a minute, how can it not be the same? That should be the rule, not the exception. The judge in that case should be held up as the standard for what a prosecutor has to face, not the exception. And I'll tell you, Tim, I wish you and Mrs. Black a happy Thanksgiving. And I'm so proud to be able to say that I've been a member of the Tim Black Wolfpack for some time now. And we're coming to the end of the year. and I am so proud of the stance that you have taken, and it makes me proud to sit here and realize what Tim Black is doing and the effect that he's having on his community and communities all over the world. Thank you, brother. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too, brother from Hawaii. William from Hawaii. Give it up for my caller, y'all. Yeah. And yeah, you know, that's what I know that was your stance on it. I knew that. I have very little belief that will carry over to other to other less popular people, particularly black people. I don't see that happening. You know, start becoming part of that chorus of what if, and if you keep up hope, you keep up hope, and everybody turn the frown upside down if you keep up hope. I just feel like it's pie in the sky, and it's not an indicative of a new wave of judges being more strict and applying more pressure to prosecutors. It's just a actual what you saw was a judge being biased towards white a white defendant and of a conservative with conservative backing and with certain cachet in conservative circles, which carried that, or which encouraged him to treat this prosecutor so adversely. I don't see that happening, routinely in these cases. Whether we liked it or whether you think it will be a good a bellwether for future prosecutions, where disenfranchised folks are treated, their prosecutors are not able to railroad them as easily. Our main problem is that we don't even get to court, Johnson. They're going to make us plea out with threats of extended amounts of jail time. And since most judges will not be judges that with ringtones of 50 Cent or Public Enemy, but ringtones of Donald Trump, greatest hits, I don't think we are going to be looking at the bright side and foregoing those plea bargains in order to face a judge who more than likely ain't going to be sympathetic. That's the thing. Who more than likely is not going to fight for us. Get what I'm saying? So I understand what you're saying. Like, yeah, maybe everybody get treated this way. And you and I both know that's not the case. Kyle Rittenhouse is very special. He's like he's right up there with the affluenza white kid. He's right up there with the affluenza white kid. Remember that guy? He killed like 3 people, paralyzed a couple other people. And they said, well, he was too rich to understand repercussions for his actions, and he walked. Then he did something stupid and ended up getting like house arrest or something. Like, that's more typical. So I just don't see it, brother. It would be nice if all of a sudden there was a sea change in how judges treated prosecutors when it comes to poor people. But it ain't going to, I have no evidence that that's going to happen, bro. I am somewhat, inspired by the treating of this guy, DeVolkener, the Kansas City cop, the corrupt cop I covered tonight. Yeah. Eric DeValkeneer, the former Kansas City police officer convicted of manslaughter with the murder of Cameron Lamb, and how the prosecutor there said her life was threatened. By cops! By cops! What needs to happen, William, is we need to break the close relationship between prosecutors and judges and police forces. Yeah, those relationships are what causes the improprieties in our judicial system at the judicial level. That's the problem. And so it is what it is. I got another call in the queue. I have one call in the queue. 662. You are live. What's your name? What's your comment?
Hello.
Hey, who's this? (662), you're live.
Can you hear me?
No, we can't hear you. Now we can. What's up?
Okay. This Aaron. I'm calling from Mississippi.
What's up, brother?
All right. Well, I say this first of all. They said that he said that he went to protect his daddy neighborhood, which I agree. I would do the same thing. He said that maybe his grandmama stayed in the neighborhood too, which I would agree with that. You know, and they said that he may or may not brought the gun with him across state line. I would have did it even if it was illegal. I agree. But what I don't agree on is the fact that, you know, what the prosecutor should have said, if you was there to protect that neighborhood, you was there to protect your mom, your dad, and your grandmom, why you wasn't at that house? Because if it was something like looting and stuff going on in the neighborhood, then you should have been protecting that house. Why you wasn't there? You know what I'm saying? We got a grocery store right down the street. And if the grocery store was being looted, that's not my problem. That's the police problem. But if I'm getting in my car going across state lines to protect my dad's neighborhood, I should have been in front of my dad's house. And if the protesters came there, oh, no. You know what I'm saying? It's not going down like that. You know, keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? If you protecting if your defense is you protecting that neighborhood, you should be in that neighborhood in front of that house or your mom, maybe your dad or your grandma. You should be there. So why is you out there in the streets? Because if you protecting your dad's house, then anything can happen while you out there in the streets. So they could be looting your dad's house, breaking in your grandma's house, but you're not there to protect them because you said you was there. The reason why you went over there because that's that neighborhood. But if it was my neighborhood, the first thing I'm going to do is sit there on the porch or wherever and make sure that they safe. So the prosecutor should have just asked him why you are not at your dad's house protecting your dad's house or your grandma's house. That's all I got to say.
Give it up for my man A-Rack, man. What's up, brother? That's my caller, y'all. I'm glad you brought that up. Because it's something I said that people forget.
90 seconds.
If Kyle Rittenhouse would have been protecting his own self and protecting his own property, I get it. If you're helping your mom, you're helping your mom. You're helping your grandma, you're helping your grandma. He was not hired to do what he was doing. I'm sorry, man. I don't care. I don't give a damn. It's a bad precedence that people are going to carry guns to go protect other people's property when you weren't even asked to. We're not even talking about personal property.
60 seconds.
You know, if my next door neighbor said people try to break in his house, we're going to call the cops, Johnson. Now, a real close friend of mine might come over and spend the night. You know what I'm saying? But that's the difference. That's different to me than what we see. And seeing that I'm a person who understands how often people protest, the powers that be that don't want the protest to occur, if you have any knowledge of history when it comes to vigilantism, when it comes to militia, and when it comes to black people, you will be dead set against this as well. I can't understand at all why people are, well, I understand it. At the end of the day, they don't care. They do not care. They want to. They think that their opinions about some shit after their fact would bring back people's lives. Well, I think Ahmaud Arbery shouldn't have. He shouldn't be alive. Yeah, of course he should be. But what are we going to do to make sure that happens in the future? Not a goddamn thing. Because dummies like you are sitting up here championing for the same type of people that killed Ahmaud Arbery to continue more. What were they doing? They thought they were being policemen and defending the neighborhood, someone else's property, who didn't ask them to do it. Same thing. Chasing a motherfucker on a piece of property that ain't theirs. And what did they do? They killed Ahmaud Arbery. Unarmed. So you don't think that this Kyle Rittenhouse case will enable and embolden more McMichaels and Bryans? That's what I'm concerned about. And for my evidence, Exhibit A, Ahmaud Arbery being gunned down in broad daylight with nothing in his hand. So there's some people that try to equate that to Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, they were chasing Ahmaud. Why are you upset? Why are you okay with that? I'm not okay with them chasing him. I understand why they chased him, though. Some people are brave. And if they think you just killed somebody and you're getting away, they may try to stop you. That's what I believe happened. That's what I believe happened. I don't think those guys, Hubert or Grosskreutz, wanted to hurt Kyle other than to stop a guy who had just shot a person. That's all they knew. Grosskreutz said, did you just shoot a guy? And did you just shoot someone? He didn't know. Then when he found out, that's the guy that just shot another guy. Who knows what they're thinking? That's how I looked at it. But at the end of the day, guys, it doesn't matter at this point. It's over. He cannot be tried again. He's walking. He's a free man. He got what he wanted. He said he wanted to be famous, bruh. Now he's famous, bruh. Congratulations. Meanwhile, I got to do what I can do to spread awareness so more people don't die. It's easy for you to say, don't go out to protest when you ain't got shit to protest. I'm the one, a part of a historically disenfranchised group in America who has a tenth of the wealth of the average white family. Last hired, first fired. Historically discriminated in this country. We got a lot to complain about. What you gonna complain about? Sure, you got stuff to complain about. But those things that you're complaining about ain't just because of the color of your skin, because your government's greedy bastards. Right? So we all have that same problem. We have that in common. I'm telling you, folks, I feel like there's an insidious nature behind this to frighten white people. And I need more white allies. I can't have my white allies afraid you're going to gun them down if they come to a protest. Black people are going to still come out to protest because by and large, it's our people that are getting killed by cops. So we're going to be the ones in more harm's way. That's my contention. You can dismiss it if you want to, but that's how I feel about it. It's based on my experience and based on my information about protests and what they usually are demographically and the reasons for those protests. So there it is. And I didn't get that information from CNN or MSNBC. I got it from me, from 10 years of covering these events. Anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody who called up tonight, except for the person who won't get off my phone lines, who keeps calling, who will never be brought back on this show ever again. And I want to thank you guys for calling up and salvaging the night, because I got upset about that. I knew it when I saw the number. I said, "Ain't this guy? I should have wrote DNA next to his name, but now I've written DNA." Call up to Sam Cedar's show, or call up to Jimmy Dore's show, or Crystal or Kyle's. Those are who you really support. Call those shows, and work with them. I mean, those people have the politics that you truly enjoy. I'm not riding on this shit. I know this is going to equal Black death. This sets a precedent, not for more white deaths necessarily. Could be, though. Don't get it twisted. But I see more Black people being shot. That's what I see. All right, guys, so let's go to comment section, man. Context Matters says, let's get this party started. Tim, time to rock and roll. What's up, Context Matters? Thank you, brother. Tyler Hackney in the house. Yes, yes, yes. Context said, hit the likes, folks. Tyler in the joint said, hey, Johnsons. Tyler says, they still bothering us. They stay bothering us. That's what they do, Johnson. Can't just have a show. It's just can't leave us alone. Gotta do it. They don't support the show. They're not contributors. They're not members. They don't do shit, Tyler. But they feel because they're entitled to interrupt the show. They're entitled. They can't disagree and go about their life. It's too much to ask. You know? Too much to ask. Tyler says, I do think cancel culture exists. It's just not that everyone thinks it is. The people who are supposedly canceled still have livelihoods. That's true. It's just people, you know, they said if they can't take away your livelihood, they ain't happy. And my thing is, you shouldn't want to take anyone's livelihood away. If people decide to stop patronizing someone, that's their decision. I don't think it's cool that other people try to dictate that. If you decide not to buy something, I get that. You know? Like, this is not a concern about Amazon. I'm not a big fan of Amazon, but if you buy Amazon and use a link from my shop, it can help fund my show. I'm an independent media, man, doing this shit on a wing and a prayer. I'm that Kyle, formerly of TYT, making millions of dollars a year. I'm that Crystal, formerly of MSNBC, making millions of dollars a year. I'm just Tim Black, doing this shit with stick and bubblegum spit and perspiration, sweat and bruises. But people don't care. Get what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I can't support cancel culture because I know who gets impacted. It doesn't affect Dave Chappelle. It won't affect Kyle, Kalinske, and Crystal Ball. But for people like me and Ben Dixon, it's devastating. And we just happen to be two black guys. Is it coincidental? Do people care that I'm independent and not establishment? No. When they got upset, they said I supported Biden and spread that as a smear as well. Did all my friends in media who know I don't support Biden, who know this is the button that I circulated for free to my viewers, did they come out and fight for me? Hell no. And then I get people that want to say, kumbaya, Tim, you just need to go on more shows. You need to work with more people. I mean, the same people who didn't have my back when I was being smeared. They're not my friends, man. So Tyler says, they always have an exclusive favor of the aggressors, but they discard us. That's the problem, Tyler. They do discard us, bro. And they don't want us to stick up for ourselves. This guy has Tucker Carlson defending Kyle Rittenhouse every day. But he wants to call up and irritate a small YouTube channel. Because to him, I should not have a voice unless it agrees with his voice. Context man says, shout out to the righteous cause tonight. Much love and much respect. Tyler Hackner says, love the cause tonight. Yeah, we had some good ones to save the day, man. Tyler Hackner says, speaking of facts, Will McGregor's in the house. Thank you, Will. Send me some Hawaiian sunshine. I saw a recipe for pineapple. Pineapple turnover. Pineapple turnover cake? That's what you call it? Never made it. Tyler Hackner, but thinking about it, that's the point. I thought about pineapples, but I thought about you in Hawaii. That's the connection. Tim, where you going with this? All right, Tyler says, we all knew, 100. That's it, brother. Yeah, man, yeah. So it's been I want to thank everybody, all my supporters that salvaged this night for me. I try to do a better job of policing my queue. I have a board. It's out of view. I'm going to add this new number, this new 210 number to it. 201 number to it, I should say. And we'll do our best to avoid it in the future. Here's the thing, guys. We got bigger fish to fry. I want to shout out in this case, I want to shout out the prosecutor. There are corrupt cops. And it's going to take prosecutors. So that's another thing, William. It takes prosecutors to go after corrupt cops. This prosecutor went after it, Jean Peters Bakers. In Jackson County prosecutor Jean Peters Bakers went after the Vulcanaire. She received threats from police and other entities to drop this case. She did not. The Vulcanaire got sneaky too. He said he did not want a judge. He wanted the judge to decide his fate. Yeah, what's that called? Someone on Twitter told me. I didn't realize this, but somebody on Twitter said he chose a bench trial. That's it. Give it up for Emma Goldman Sachs. Emma said it seems like, according to her records, after she looked into it, that the former cop who's corrupt chose to have a bench trial. So no jury tried him. And a couple years ago, there was a similar case involving planted evidence, and the judge acquitted him. So it took a prosecutor, a good prosecutor, to go after corrupt cops. And why doesn't Kamala Harris have those types of stories? Get what I'm saying? So, see, here's the thing, guys. People have criticized me about my harsh critiques of Amy Klobuchar, harsh critiques of Kamala Harris. But here's the thing, guys. Why don't they have in their resume a track record of going after bad cops? Come on, man. Obviously, Minnesota has bad cops. Derek Chauvin was a cop underneath, serving at the time as Amy Klobuchar, who had cases come up, complaints come up. Amy Klobuchar did not pursue them. Kamala Harris in San Francisco is a DA and as Attorney General. Why isn't she hanging her hat on the time she brought down these corrupt cops? Because she doesn't have that background. Her background was locking up nonviolent drug offenders and throwing away the key, keeping people locked up in order to not have to hire firemen to fight forest fires. That's her record. So we need prosecutors. That's the way the system's set up. We need prosecutors that will fight the good fight. Like this particular prosecutor. Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker out of Jackson County, Missouri. That's all I got, y'all. I respect the hell out of you. I love you. I'll see you Wednesday. I'm going to do a pause show tomorrow. We're going to do a pause with Tim Black. Let's keep it going. You guys good? Oh, it might just be me. I think Kyle and Crystal are doing the nasty. Hey, dog, that's the thing. That's why I got so pissed off, man. I don't watch them. Literally, guys, I'm one guy. Mrs. Black tries to help, right? But she's busy as hell, too. So I'm doing this job of like 5 people. I don't have time to watch Crystal and Kyle. I literally do not have time. I don't even know what you're talking about, William, but it's got to be the interaction, the dynamics of the interaction on film, right? While they're filming. That's what must give you that, make your spidey senses start tingling, right? So I don't have time to watch them to know what you're talking about. But I feel what you're saying, though. Because where else would you get that type of inclination? But that's why I got pissed off, because this guy said I'm being influenced by CNN when I don't watch them. I don't have time to watch these motherfuckers. I can't watch them. First of all, they're corny as hell. They be lying. If you watch one, you got to watch the other and watch the other. So I try to, in those particular cases, since they're publicized, I can watch testimony. So I watched a portion of testimony. But Kyle Rittenhouse was a stinker for me at the beginning, because I said, why is he there? I couldn't get past that. Why is he there with a gun? That's where you got me. So that's where I was. That's it. Sally says, have cornbread with your turkey. Have a great Thanksgiving. You too, Sally. And Wolfpack love. I appreciate you, Sally. Y'all good, man? Y'all get it? Y'all get it? All right. I'm going to go get a glass of wine. Mrs. Black, I'm home. Let me ask you something. Do they know us? When I say they, I mean the talking heads on cable news. Do they know you? I mean, they talk about the world as if it's a sport. They play political games, report on our pain, rack our brain to feed the stock exchange, but do they know us? Do they know what we care about? Nope. They're too far away. They can't see us. They can't feel us. They can't relate to us. See, when you want to know what's going on in your world, trust someone who lives in your world. Subscribe.
Most news shows are suspect. They don't focus on Black issues, and when they do, it's all fluff. How does that help your life? How does that help your family? How does that help the culture? They don't. The Tim Black Show is different. Tim Black gives you news for people who can't stand the news. Real, authentic, researched, entertaining, on point. Don't let nobody take your cornbread. Visit www.timblacktv.com today. Get Black breaking news, politics, culture from someone you can trust. TimBlackTV.com. Join us today.